Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care. Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi. Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
So we had a pretty lousy jobs number yesterday. Private jobs, private payrolls fell 86,000. Fell. The month before, they gained 146. I don't know if this is a winter distorted one-off or something more serious. The purchasing managers for services and manufacturing showed very strong, but this one was pretty awful. Wages did go up, however, by over 4% year on year. So let's talk to John Carney, Breitbart news editor for economics and finance and co-author of the Breitbart Business Digest. So, John, I was talking to Mickey Bowman, vice chair of the Fed, yesterday on set. Two things. One is she thought this was a very bad number, and she herself is probably going to be more intense on lower interest rates, perhaps even March. Didn't rule it out. And secondly, she agrees with Kevin Warsh that she wants to help shrink the Fed's balance sheet, their assets, and modernize the banking system. So what do you make of all this?
So, first of all, I thought it was a great interview. I think we're going to have at least 3 votes for a cut in March. Christopher Waller has also said that he was looking for the payrolls number that came in very weak. Myron has indicated that he will vote for a cut as well. And look, the jobs number there probably was some winter distortion in it. I mean, it was one of the coldest, snowiest Februarys we've had in many years, and huge parts of the Northeast in particular were snowed in. Washington, D.C. was snowed in. So you had definitely a big weather factor. On the other hand, when you look at the December number also got revised down from a gain of 48,000 to a negative 17,000. Unemployment isn't rising very much, but we're not adding a lot of jobs right now. That's a classic chance for the Fed to say, okay, let's see what happens when we start cutting. Does this revive it? Will people start hiring? The other thing I try to get people to keep in mind, though, is that we actually don't need to create a lot of jobs. We needed a lot of jobs when the borders were open and we were flooding the country with people coming in illegally. Right now, the growth of the labor force is actually pretty low, and we're creating more jobs than the labor force growth, which is one reason the unemployment rate ticked up to 4.4%, but is very low, and it's been around that range all year long, despite not a lot of job creation in the private sector and a ton of job cuts in the federal government.
You had pretty strong numbers for the ISM, the purchasing managers. And that's why I was a little skeptical of this, but it may be. I mean, actually, to be honest, Mickey Bowman kind of woke me up because she's serious, obviously a serious person, and she said it was a problem. She said it was a major problem. I asked her if it was a game changer at the Fed, and she said it's going to cause. I forget how she put it, but it's going to cause a lot of new conversation, something like that. And then I asked her about maybe a rate cut in March. And she didn't rule it out. She said, well, there's going to be a lot of conversation around the table. So I thought, when is the meeting? Is it about 2 weeks, the March meeting?
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks. I think one of the things that is going to make it more complicated is, and this happens every time we get these kind of spikes in gasoline and oil prices, is the question of whether or not the Fed should look through that. And of course they should, but it confuses the Fed every time it happens. It didn't confuse them, interestingly enough, when Biden was president.
Yeah. They
completely said, oh, we can ignore that. It's not a problem, when it was a problem then. But in the past, it confused them back in 2007 and 8, actually, when they were still rising because they were worried about higher gasoline prices. This time, I think, is very clear. It's different than the last time gasoline prices were rising, in part because we had a lot of excess savings in households back in 2022 because of because of all the stimulus, because of COVID, and then all the money, the deficit spending Biden was doing. We don't have that right now. So when gas prices go up, what we'll see is actually spending go down elsewhere. Households don't have more money to spend. They're going to get some from the tax cuts, but it's still not going to it's not going to allow higher gas prices to become inflationary. They're actually going to be a contractionary event. The Fed should look at it actually as a reason to ease monetary policy rather than tighten.
Well, remember, we're producers and exporters also.
Absolutely.
So this
makes a huge difference.
Yeah, there's a section of the economy that benefits from higher energy prices. But I don't think it's going to last very long. My whole plan, I was talking to Besant yesterday, what the president wanted, they got the development. We're going to reinsure the oil tankers and give them some protection with the Navy. And as soon as they put them through the Straits of Hormones, get 4, 5, 6 of them through, I guarantee you oil prices start heading south. That's what Chris Wright was saying. I don't think Scott Besant really understands the importance of this play, but I see that Chris Wright was out there, the energy secretary. He agrees with me, and Ed Yardeni's another guy that talked about it. Show people you can get oil through the strait, and the price will start easing down. It won't go back to 60 right away, but it'll stop going up, John.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, one of the funny things that's happening is the production is still really high.
Yes.
The Kuwait, there was a story in the Wall Street Journal that Kuwait actually had to freeze production because their storage facilities are full.
Yes.
So what does that tell you? That tells you once we get the strait open, then we will, and a huge part of it really can be just done financially.
Yes.
And so once we're ensuring it, that is a really important thing. That will drop the oil price very quickly. As you said, I think there will still be some lingering nervousness, so we're not going to get down to 60, but $92, $93 a barrel is too much. It becomes a problem for the economy.
It's so funny. The big enemy in the Straits of Hormones is not the Iranian Navy, which was sunk already. It was Lloyd's of London.
Right. Right. Absolutely. They're the biggest maritime insurer,
yes.
and they sent it through the roof. We're going to get a lot of volatility as well. Look, every time, a report comes that somebody fires a missile at a tanker, oil prices will go up, the stock market will go down. But as you said, I don't think it's going to last very long. And the real economic pain from higher oil prices actually isn't just, a few days spike or a couple days of higher gasoline prices. It's really when it starts to change both business and consumer behavior, and that takes a little while. So if they get a hold of this quickly, I don't think we're going to have a big problem there.
Yeah, hopefully. Agree with you. John, we got a minute left or a minute and a half left, 2 minutes left. The trade court in New York said that Treasury's got to pay out the refunds for the tariffs, I guess $130 billion, some such. Because of the war, this story has been undercovered. I didn't even have time to talk to Scott Besant about it yesterday. But it's out there, the New York Trade Court. So you got a thought on that in the last 90 seconds?
Yeah, I think this was going to happen. I don't think it's going to be a big problem. Look, the U.S. government actually pays the way the tariffs are done even before this is there's a lot of estimation that goes on, and then you true it up later, whether that's somebody having to pay more or the Treasury paying it back. They're going to be able to do this without much of a problem. The new tariff revenue is going to start to come in. So we're actually going to see them collecting tariffs and then sort of recycling that to pay back some of the tariffs that were paid already. I don't think it's going to be as big of a headache as people thought. They're set up to do it. It will be, look, it'll probably take a little longer than people think, even if the courts tell them to go quickly, just because there's a lot more companies that paid a lot more money. And you can't just send a check out to anyone. This isn't, if you and I go and say, hey, give me $1 million, we paid the tariffs, we need to show that we paid it. And so there's going to be some paperwork. A
pal of mine who will remain unnamed, but was a former very, very, very senior Treasury official. He's been telling me that the inside the Treasury, the Bureau of Fiscal Services can dispense or dispose of these refunds, tariff refunds, very quickly. It's not a process, never been a problem. And the customs, whatever it's called, that actually gets the transactions, their record keeping is quite good.
Yeah, they've got it all written down. They're used to paying refunds. Look, people get refunds from the U.S. government all the time for their taxes. Corporations get it. People get it. It's not a problem.
Thank you, John Carney. By the way, folks, the daily Breitbart Business Digest is a must-read. We're going to take a break, and on the other side, General Jack Keane will come in and enlighten us about the whole Iran story. I'm Kudlow. Please stick around.
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.